Hi everyone, thanks for watching this video. I'm Tammy C, the founder of Wish I'd Been Taught. In this video, I'll be sharing with you the 7 beliefs of parenting excellence. Being an effective parent comes down to versatility, adaptability, and thinking on your feet. Becoming stubborn in your approach to getting the desired behavior from our child won't get you anywhere. So in this video, I'll be taking through some concepts and ideas that will help you broaden your understanding of your own perspective on life and, of course, on your kids. Through doing so, you'll learn different approaches you can take for getting the outcome both you and your child want. This outcome is positive, of course. I'm not saying that you should or will give in to something your child shouldn't have. However, when a child refuses to do something that's needed, say for example, they refuse to do their homework from school, you know why they don't want to do it, and how you can make the activity more interesting and enticing for them. Most arguments and disconnections between parents and kids come from automatic reactions. For example, if you are tired from a long day at work and your child keeps on at you about playing their video games, you might snap at them and shout. Your child will not only be emotionally affected by your response, they'll begin to adopt it and use it back at you. If you don't want your child to play the video game for a good reason, then you must learn to compose yourself mindfully and approach your communication in a way that they understand. So here comes the first beliefs. The map is not the territory. The map is not the territory, but our map is our territory. What it means is, while we all live in this world, each individual has his or her own perspective of it. We each have our own desires, beliefs, needs, concerns, and fascinations. Take for example, when we enter a restaurant with our kids, they may be looking forward to drawing and coloring in with crayons, or where they will be seated at the table. Parents, on the other hand, will be interested in what food is on the menu, the decoration around, the service that the restaurant is going to provide, or even the cost of the meal. The above is a prime example of how we can be in the same place as our kids, but view it from entirely unique perspectives. Understanding your own map is easier since you are you and you only need to pay attention to your mind and work to see how you feel about your environment or the situation at hand. However, understanding your child's map is a completely different ballgame. But in learning your child's perspective of their environment, you can communicate with them more effectively. You can give them directions, advices, and tools which will help them feel comfortable and satisfied with their map. The map concept is easy to see when you put yourself in the shoe of your child in a given situation. Take an example, visiting the local park. Your kids will be thrilled and excited to try each of the equipment, such as the swings, the slides, and various areas of the park. But you, on the other hand, will be concerned with their safety. You may be sitting on a bench watching them play, while also thinking about work, family issues, goals, and anything else unrelated to your environment. So these two maps are completely different, yet two humans are experiencing the same territory. Through learning to see the world through your child's eyes, you can communicate with them in a fashion that will help them see that everything is okay and that you are there for them. So here comes the second belief. The meaning of communication is the response we get. Communication is a two-way street. There must be a speaker and a listener. Now, there are many variations on what speaking and listening may be, which I'll get into shortly, but the parameters remain unchanged. Think about this question. Who is responsible for effective communication? Also, think about this question. Is it the speaker or the listener's fault if something is understood or misunderstood? The truth is, it's down to both parties. It takes the speaker to learn to converse in a way that the listener understands, and it takes the listener's understanding how the speakers communicate to grasp what they're saying. So these two ideas may sound odd or a little confusing, but they are true nevertheless. For example, how effective do you think a communication will be if both parties are trying to understand one another? Much more so than if one person is trying and another isn't interested in listening. When talking to your children, learn from their responses as to how the communication is going. If they are not giving you a verbal response, that is still a response. It means that you're not being engaging enough for them to respond back to you verbally. So if your child doesn't understand what you're telling them, don't blame them and get angry. Understand that you need to frame the information differently for them until they do digest what you are saying to them. For example, if you're trying to talk to your child but they are engrossed in a cartoon on TV, they may not listen to you. In their mind, an unconscious weighing scale is at work, deciding which area they'd like to give more attention to, either the TV cartoon or the contents of your words. You might be asking them to come and collect their dinner from the kitchen, yet they are not responding. Perhaps the TV cartoon is more interesting to them. If you want to invoke a better response, reframe the task for them. What meal have you cooked for them? Is it their favorite? Describe it to them. Sell the dinner to them, and weight scales in their unconscious mind may then begin to tip in your favor. In using this technique, you'll be imparting new ways of communication to your children, as well as get a better result from their behavior. Always remember, we are environmentally and genetically conditioned. This means that your kids will begin to adopt your communication skills. Except now, instead of becoming angry about misunderstandings, they are learning to become more descriptive about the information they want to send to you. Okay, the third belief is there's no failure but only feedback. What it means is actually trial and error. And parenting has a lot to do with trying and adjusting. If what you're doing isn't working, do something else. That's an old statement, but it's very relevant for parenting. The stubbornness of parents and children is a result of lazy communication and problem solving. There's no use being stubborn. Asking your child to do the same thing in the same way over and over again will only result in negativity and bad behavior. Change your approach, shift perspectives, find new way to communicate to the same message so that they can produce the desired outcome from your child. Like it or not, I totally believe that if we've told your child something thousands of times, they still don't understand, then it's not them who's slow at learning. Sometimes, to make effective change outside of us, we have to assess our own behavior and communication methods first. Change starts within, and is then reflected externally. Get resourceful with your approach to talk to your child. Think about what will interest them, what will get their attention over what they're currently doing. Why does giving your child a chore or something to do have to sound like nagging or boring? Stereotyping the idea of doing chores for someone feels negative. It feels like hard work. But in reality, if we have those ideas framed to us in another way, we'd feel happier about doing them, or they'd feel lighter in our minds. For example, let's say you want your kids to do the washing up. Currently, they are each playing a game on their own and deeply interested in what they are doing. You ask them to do the dishes, but they don't respond. In their mind, they're consciously involved in their games, but their unconscious mind is picking up on what you're saying. Is this enough to get them to listen? Perhaps not. But on some level in their minds, they know what you want them to do. It just hasn't risen to the surface of their focus yet. Will it ever rise up high enough? That will depends on your next move. If you become frustrated that they are not listening to you, you radiate anger towards them, which will cause them to feel anger towards you. Not a healthy communication. Try a different approach. Perhaps there's a fun tool you can use to do wash up with them, or a game you can make out of washing up. Try to incorporate your kids' likes and favorite things into the chores and tasks you ask them to fulfill. This process really is trial and error. You can try out as many different ways as you can until you find something that works. This approach isn't giving in to your child's being unresponsive or rude to you by not listening. If they are not listening, it's communication breakdown. They don't mean to seem rude. The fourth belief is behind every behavior is a positive intention. This statement may be hard to believe for parents when their kids seems to be acting out about anything and everything. But behind that bad spell of behavior, there is a positive intention. Ignorance of communication usually leads parents to make statements such as he's just being naughty or ignore her, she's being rude, and so on. If a child is acting out, they're trying to tell you something, but can't quite work out how to do it properly. Their bad behavior is a result of not being able to communicate what they're feeling. Therefore, they become frustrated and angry. For example, let's say Timmy has trouble sleeping at night. He doesn't stay in his bed and keeps on waking mom and dad up numerous times overnight. Mom and dad get very annoyed and they need their sleep and work hard during the day. Their tolerance levels are much lower throughout the night. However, Timmy doesn't care. He's petrified as he believes there to be something under his bed. Dad becomes angry and just shouts at Timmy, telling him to go back to bed, or gives in and tells Timmy he can stay in their bed. This would lead Timmy to believe that safety at night only exists in Mummy and Daddy's bed, and the problem will become more severe over time. However, a better approach would be to talk to Timmy about what he's experiencing. He has a serious problem in his mind. There's something scary under his bed, and there's no way he's going back to bed alone. So if Mom was to ask Timmy, what does these things look like? Timmy may reply, it's a big purple monster. Mommy could then take Timmy back to his room and shine a light under his bed. Show Timmy that there's nothing there and reassure him everything is okay, rather than just shout at him or give in to his behavior, or just simply tell Timmy there's no such thing as a big purple monster. Timmy was only communicating something he thought to be true, to be real in his mind, and his anxiety and frustration was being amplified by the fact that his parents weren't taking the matter seriously. The next belief is we cannot not communicate. What it means is we're actually having constant communication with each other, whether we're doing it consciously or unconsciously. Like it or not, we're constantly communicating with everyone around us. It doesn't matter if we are not verbally speaking, our bodies are always giving off tells or indications as to how we're feeling. Sometimes these cues are more obvious. For example, if you ask your child a question and they look at you angrily and ignore the question, you know something is up. They've given you a message without saying anything. Learning to read this behavior is essential so that you can pick up on whether your kids have a problem. But it's important to remember that they're just like you. They will be picking up on your body language behavior too. For example, if your child asks you to play but you don't fully engage with the game, they will know. Your mind may be running through tasks you have to do or anything else, but your child feels a lack of enthusiasm and begins to disengage with you. They may then relate this to your relationship with them in some way, which can result in them acting out for attention. The solution is to read your child's body language and to ensure that you are giving of healthy and engaged body language to them too. This way, you communicate non-verbally with love, affection, and understanding. Persistence equals lack of rapport. If your child isn't listening to you or responding to what you say, it means that you haven't communicated with them in a way that they understand or find interesting. For some reason, a lot of parents seem to think that just because they are the parents, that the child should listen to them. Why? That isn't a natural law. If you want your kids' attention, respect, and effort, then you need to earn it. How? Through effective communication, of course, and patience and perseverance. Sometimes kids like to do things their own way. They seem strong-willed, motivated, independent, and assertive. Every child has these traits in them to a certain degree, but some more than others. Typically, a child who shows independence and a lack of care for authority will be labeled as troublesome. However, in reality, they're actually showing incredible creativity, imagination, and also confidence. Aren't those good things? You bet. That kind of behavior should be understood and directed into something productive. Studies show that kids who show signs of being strong-hearted, confident, assertive, and motivated grow up to be a stronger leader, grow up to be entrepreneurs or even business owners. This behavior should be encouraged when positive and redirected into productive areas that will help the child grow healthily. Even though at times it may seem that they're being naughty, they're simply trying things out, learning as they go, pushes the limits to learn through experience. Are those such bad things? As a parent, it's your job to direct that behavior and encourage it in areas that will help your child develop progressively. And this final belief is the person with the most flexibility controls the system. So the point I want to make here is to be flexible. This relates to your approach in which you communicate to your children and to the circumstance you find yourself in. Behavior and circumstances are always changing. For example, you may come up with a solution to your child's behavior, but your partner might have a different idea and begin to pursue it. Instead of arguing with your partner, adapt to new parameters with which you have to act upon and tackle it from that angle. This may mean learning to communicate effectively with your partners as well as your child, but perhaps that's best left for another book. If you ever find yourself becoming frustrated, realize that you are a victim of communication breakdown. Through this realization, you notice that you need to do a fix to the situation, and you have to shift your perspective. You have to try to communicate from a new angle to get your message across. Flexibility will keep you in control of the situation and help you deal with any possibilities that could come up. The 7 beliefs I've just shared are actually presuppositions from neuro-linguistic programming. These beliefs are designed to help you communicate better with your children and also with your partners. It doesn't matter whether these beliefs are true or not. What is important is whether you can make full use of them, build them in, internalize them, and make them a resourceful beliefs to help you and your children build a stronger bonding. Hope you find all this information useful and see you